welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make, just about everything from the ground up. And welcome to the Don't Wake the Dragon Interior Makes series. Go ahead, baby. You're okay. I know there were loud noises. On this week's video, we are going to be making fabric bins to go inside the cavities of the dragon on the side of the dragon that has the window. Let's do this. I am going to be using a lot of the scrap materials left over from the panels that went on the inside of the dragon. But I did purchase a couple things. I have not used this stuff before, but I've heard good things about it. I've looked it up some, I guess, blogs that I was checking out. And also the woman at Joann's said she uses this stuff for her own bag making. This is peltex 71. It is a Pellin interfacing. The only difference between the 70 and the 71 is that the 71 has one side that's fusible. I usually prefer double-sided fusible interfacing, but the best I could do was one-sided. It is a very thick, sort of foam-ish material that lines the inside of your pieces. You usually use it for backing. In this case, this is going to become the stiffener that makes the walls stand up straight in my bins. And I thought about maybe I put in wood as a stabilizer or even cardboard, but I wanted it washable. And then I also picked up something a little bit stiffer that will make up my walls. This is faux leather vinyl fabric that will become the other sides of the boxes, parts that you won't see until you pull the bin out. Aside from the fact that this will give me more stability for the other sides, it also will be less work I have to do because you will not see these once they're inside the cavities. You'll only see the front facing. I've made bins before where I made them for the IKEA cube system. I made each cube side a different fabric, so that way if I was bored and I wanted to change my space, I could just flip the bins into a different direction. These are not perfect cubes. This is a very specific space. Every detail of this space has been carefully planned out. This is the exterior. I'm going to be backing all of the pieces with that black cotton that was supposed to become the first layer of the dragon, remember, and I didn't use it, so that's going to become my backing for all of the things. I have just finished shooting the cat chaise lounger, Sly's chaise, and I had some of this fabric left over that I've been using for the trim. When you're walking through the door of the dragon, the chaise is to the right, the glass window is to the left. These fabric bins are going to be under the glass window, so I like the idea of pulling a little bit of that detail over to this side. This is what my panels are ultimately going to look like, not identical to this because this is the crazy quilting method where you just kind of take shapes and you match them up together and you keep adding triangular type of shapes until you get a panel. I thought having this one little splash on each of the panels would help draw a little bit of color to that side, also tie in what's happening on the other side. This is my tried and true loved crazy quilting process, which I have done many times on this channel, but I'll go through it again. The number one thing I'm doing is trying to not use the same fabric twice. On the interior of that dragon, there are no two fabrics used twice. Every single fabric in there is a completely different one for the panels, with the exception of where the panel for the neck meets, because I consider the joining of where the two panels are would have been like one panel visually. I have saved all of the cast-offs, so I should have more than enough to make sure I don't repeat fabrics, and I should probably sort out a pile of ones that I've already used. Now these other scrap bits can be saved for other things. I do really like the black and white color scheme because it allows me a little bit more freedom with pulling in just a pop of color in other projects. Back that up a minute. The quilt for this piece, the first time I'm doing something like this, it's going to be more of a picture quilt. I have a background and then a scene happening on the front of it. I want it to be a forest with, smaller Evangeline sleeping. It's going to have the black and white. So a lot of these gray tones, the white tones are going to be necessary for my background. Saving these scraps. Saving the scraps. That's my point. Always save the scraps. I have bins and bins of freaking scraps. More scraps than I have fabric, maybe. I don't know. Fabric's kind of my addiction, y'all, in case you haven't noticed. Yes, I'm a woodworker. I would say if I had to pick a medium to describe myself, I would probably automatically say I'm a woodworker. But I'm no joke, like fabric's just my thing. I don't know. I'm gonna sort through this and find some bits I have not used yet. That's not used. Those have not been used. Got some bees that need some using. Alright, this should get me started somewhat. So I like this triangle. I'm going to keep that section. Where the heck are my scissors? Buried. I usually like to just start with an initial shape. So in this case, I'm just going to start with this triangular shape and then I will build up off of this piece. I'm trying to make sure I get a mix of different colors so I don't end up with a concentration of one too much. I did go a little bit more on the gray side with these. All the woodwork parts, with the exception of the floor, are going to be painted out black. I want to make sure that I have a little bit more contrast. So I don't want to be too heavy with the darker colors. So I'm going to go ahead and first pin this in place. Now, one thing I have learned from doing this process is that, I used to do this where I take this and put it way up here in the corner, but then what ends up happening is I end up with this weird juncture here and I don't have room to lay the next piece without cutting through too much of this. So what I've learned is if I backstep it back here, when the next piece comes on, I have a little bit more room to fit here. It's in my nature to just line things up this way, and I had to stop doing that with this process. It seems almost wasteful to shoot for the middle like this, but in the end, you'll end up with a little bit more meat to work off of, and the shapes kind of build a little bit better off of themselves. If y'all start crazy quilting, it is highly addictive because you don't need a pattern. You have the freedom to sort of match things together, and you just look at it and go, okay, this has a little too much here. Let me add in another piece over here. It's a really fun process for me because I don't have to have so many rules, so much control. A lot of the other things that I'm making, there's so many rules to the materials and so many things that you have to do in order to make sure that, the thing doesn't fall apart. There's so many technical aspects to things. Having a process that allows a little bit more freedom, which is also another reason why I like ceramics, is really good for me to break up that headspace of it has to be this way, it has to be this way. I am just going to put a seamed edge, just a basic straight stitch. And I could cut this down at this point, or I can build off of it. I think I'll continue to build off of it, maybe with this. Have to keep making choices. This is just how it is. You look at it and you go, okay, where do I want to go next? So sometimes I feel like this is too broad and this would be too long of a strip to put one color. So I might stop, and I think I'll do that here. I'll stop at this point for that one, and I'm going to join two other colors, and this is way more than I want to be working with. Here comes the rain. It is early Saturday morning. I knew it was going to be raining. The dragon is all squared away. My son will probably come running in here in a minute, maybe. He's not hiding somewhere else. I did have a leak in the eye, and I patched the heck out of it. Today is the first rain since patching that leak, so hopefully I'm going to get a good tester in and see how this goes. We shall see, we shall see. Seems like a very good day to be doing a fabric. Something. Nice rainy days. Now I know I said I don't like this whole thing about plowing through my line. In this case though, I'm okay with it because this is a really large piece. See about fitting this. There are no rules here. As long as you are stitching in a straight line. I mean, you could not stitch in a straight line and just go for curved or whatever, but that's going to change the shape. When I have something like this, sometimes if it's a little too confusing in the look, I will give myself a line with my disappearing ink. This is just a stitch line to show myself where I'll be joining these pieces. All right, at this point, I think I'll work in a little piece of that green that I have intended to work in. But I also think I had too much going on, so I'm gonna trim back some of this stuff. I don't want the green to always be in the same spot. You know, here I have it sort of centered. I still want there to be a border of one of the other colors first, but I don't want it necessarily smack dab in the middle each time. Scrappity scrap. All right, we'll throw it over here. But if I throw it over here, then I'm gonna have this weird corner bit to deal with, which I don't necessarily want to do. So I'm gonna do that thing where I attach something else to this and go back into my bin and look for some more colors. I think this one's nice. One thing is that this is stretchy fabric, so put a little bit of extra pins when working with stretchy stuff. Every time there's fabric, I know. Fabric and rain. Oh, I'm working on that one. How about you sleep on this other pile? Can I have this? There you go. You take that one. That's a good one. Okay, there we go. You lay there, and Mom's gonna work here. Whoop, whoop. Don't want you to get pins. Yes, goodness. Where you going? There are 4 bins, and I don't know what the heck happened, but 3 are the same, and 1 is a little bit longer. And then the opposite side, I must have been tired when I set those things in, because every single one of them are off by like 1/4 of an inch each, which sucks because that side is the side that has to be made out of wood, and it's a heck of a lot easier to alter the fabric than it is going to be the wood side. Needless to say, it's done now. I have to go with what it is. I have 3 that are going to be 14.5 by 10.5, and 1 that will be 15 by 10.5. I made myself this little piece. Actually, I accidentally cut the wrong size. This piece I can lay on here to sort of map out where things gonna go, but I do have to keep in mind that I need to give myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm looking to make sure I have enough, and I'm going to use my disappearing marker. These were great. I got this whole pack for really cheap. I want to say it was like 10 bucks on Amazon. These fit into my Cricut. Bought them for the hexagon quilt I made. I was blowing through Cricut pens so quickly because I had it tracing on my seam allowance. It was just becoming really expensive. So I got a whole pack of these for super cheap on Amazon, and they've been lasting a pretty long time. And that is what's gonna be my pattern. All right, and that is the cover of my bin. I will be backing all of these, like I said, with this black. I have to cut a larger one so that this will have a little bit more structure, and then also with the peltex stuff will also come in between. I have 2 more of these to make, and then I can begin assembling boxes. I have cut all of my pieces. I am just about ready for assembly. I have my textured faux leather, my black cotton backing, and then my Peltex 70 cut and ready to go. I think I'm going to start off with attaching the Peltex to the quilted pieces. Peltex is cut smaller so that I can have a seam allowance, but also so that the bulk doesn't get in my way. One side of this is fusible. I want to heat this fusible side to the patterned piece. That way it'll help freeze all of the pattern in place. Since the lines are so clean inside of the dragon, I'm holding myself back from doing top stitching, where I really love the look of top stitching along the seam lines. I like to use a blanket stitch so it looks like a hand stitching where the pieces are joined. I want to stay away from that for these pieces. Putting the fusible side down, I think that'll be the better way to go, so it'll help hold everything in. So I'm gonna just take this over to my ironing board setup over here and fuse this in. I was really hoping to avoid having to press from the top. Some of this fabric has metallic textures and things, and I don't want to put too much heat here, but unfortunately the thickness of the Peltex doesn't let the heat get through, so doing it from the back did not work out. So now I have it upright, and just this thin layer cotton that I'll be using for the backing seems to be okay. foam thickness, the heat doesn't penetrate. Even though this is 1700 watt, the heater is actually only 1000 watts. It's less than what this iron is. Seems to have stuck it on there good. All right, over to the sewing machine. I've chosen this to be my top edge, so I gave myself a crease and then a crease here. I'm gonna pin these two. I'm only gonna do this for the top edge. I will just do a zigzag stitch running down these edges. I gotta make 6 of these. And in my head, somehow, I thought I was only making 4 and I'm short on materials. Yeah, there you have it. Gotta go back to buy more of the faux leather and a little bit more of the peltex because I undershot, but whatevs. You doing, sugar man? You hungry? That lady went to go pick up more food. It's wet. Go sit back down on your porch. I'll cuddle you if you let me, Sly. It's been years and you still don't let me near you. Alright. I think it'll be worth running a stitch along all 4 corners just to hold everything in place. And I'm just now realizing that aside from not having enough for the sides, I have not accounted for the bottom. I'll have to add that to my calculation. No idea what the hell I was thinking when I went to do this math. I think I was just excited about making bins, finally moving on to these projects, but I totally miscalculated all of my things. I will assemble as best I can for these. I have to go back to Joann's and get more stuff. The next step is for me to do this exact same thing with my non-patterned pieces with peltex and faux leather. But because this faux leather is faux leather, I don't want to put any heat on this. I'll be adhering the peltex directly to the black cotton. I will also designate a top so that I have a nice clean edge of the open part of the bin before the rest of these get assembled. Unfortunately, when I put this in, the top was a little bit too floppy. It didn't stay taut inside the cubby, which I was really hoping that this thicker Peltex 71 was going to do it for me because I don't want to waste all of the work I've already done. Added these little tabs. I just kind of stitched up little sewing tabs that allowed me to put in strips of wood, and that kind of held it taut enough. They're stable. I just didn't like the flop. If I was to be able to do these all over again from the start and I wasn't on an insane time crunch, I probably would have somehow tacked this piece of wood to the inside of this. Anyhow, whatever. It is what it is. This is where we are now. I'm going to paint these black. You won't even see them. It's much easier to attach the little tabs to this flat pieces first before I start assembling, so I'm going to go ahead and do that first. Oh, I also put in a little tab in the front as a little pull tab, not very visible on the piece, kind of blends in, but that way you can pull the bins out. Goodness. All right, I am going to assemble now the boxes, or a box. I've already assembled the rest of them. This is the last of them, the last one. Come on now. Don't poke my finger. Already drawn too much blood. Like that. And then these go on the inside. And then into my straight stitch. Well, I have to do this from the front. I was breaking way too many stitches. It was becoming really difficult. I have purchased upholstery thread with the leather slash faux leather assist needle. The upholstery thread was too much for the inside of this and it kept jamming, and so I got some regular quilter's thread that I put in the bobbin, so it's the down stitch, and the thicker upholstery thread for the top where it's visible. So I have to make sure that I'm stitching all of these stitches on the top because the color is slightly different and I don't want you to see that thread line. Alright, I'm going to clean this up and go ahead and attach my tabs to the other parts. So I need to do it to the back and the 2 side pieces. Alright, time for assembly. I'm hitting these with both a straight stitch and then I'm going back in with a zipper stitch. I don't have a serger, so I use my zigzag stitch a lot to just secure this in. It works just as well. Hey, bub. Hi. Where you been? Hello. Hi. Alright, y'all, all that is left is to get these bins into the Dragon. I have left the wood pieces that fit inside of it for another day. Weather is too wonky right now to deal with painting them, so let's go load these in. And they are in. I don't think I'm gonna leave these in here through the rain because I still am dealing with small bits of leakage here and there. What can I say? These things took an insane amount of time to make. I have no idea why. I feel like I've been working on these for weeks on end. It took definitely at least 2 weeks, might have even been 3 when I started these. It was just kind of nuts. It's odd. They're not that complicated of pieces, but I think the cold. What are you doing, buddy man? You coming in? Come on in. Come in. Hello. Well, hello, good sir. Come in. I think come on. You coming in? Come on, buddy. Hello, Bubba man. I think the cold was an issue. Me trying to get the sewing done with really cold fingertips. Hi, baby boy. Yeah, you see the bins? You exploring? Oh, we got another one. Hi, party in the Dragon. Mama, you coming in? Dragon party. Dragon party. Come on. What else we got? It's a cat party. I have no idea what the heck I was even saying. I'm just capturing the excitement of the Dragon party. These bins took forever. I need to move on. I gotta make other stuff. There's just so much to do. And stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna call it here. I hope you enjoyed watching this project come together. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Stick around to watch many more projects to come. And remember, don't wake the dragon.